Alrighty, so now moving on to the top 10 of my top 10 most wanted crossovers I would like to see with Hackslash, or whatever I'm calling this thing. Anyway, before I get started, as always, guys, this is just my list, this is my opinion. If you think there's one that should have been on this list, or shouldn't have been on this list, or should have been higher or lower, that's totally fine, that's your opinion, and this is not whenever I do my top 10 list, this is just my personal opinion, this is just stuff I'd like to see, it doesn't go for everybody. You know, everyone has their own opinion, and it's totally fine, so, yeah. Anyway, guys, let's start off with number 10. Number 10, I'd like to see a Hackslash Buffy crossover. This would be so much fun, and it kind of speaks for itself. Hackslash has all these, it's a horror slash comedy type story, but you can also play it out as a serious story as well. Buffy has elements of horror and comedy as well. And even though it's not as gory as Hackslash is most of the time, you can still kind of see that they both fight supernatural threats as well as monsters and whatnot. So I think this could work. Seeing Buffy and Cassie work together would be great. Hell, I'd even take anything in the Buffy universe to cross over with, like Hackslash with Angel and Faith. That one seems a little less likely though. Actually, I'd go for Buffy versus Spike. Hackslash versus Spike. That'd be pretty good. I think I would take that, but if I can't get Buffy. But the problem is with the Buffy stuff is that it's even though it's under Dark Horse Comics, the rights are still who gets to say to do what is still under like whatever it's still under Fox pretty much, or whatever. I keep forgetting what Buffy's under. You know what Buffy's licensed under. So even though Dark Horse has the comic book rights to it, they still need to run by things by the people who own it. That was kind of the thing with Star Trek and Doctor Who crossover, because it took them forever to get BBC and Paramount to get on the right page for it. I don't know why, but because it was just a comic, so whatever. Anyway, that's kind of the problem why it's kind of low on the list, because again, I kind of see that it would probably be the same thing if we ever tried to get a Hackslash Buffy crossover. Anyway, moving on to Hackslash and Swamp Thing crossover. Hackslash and Swamp Thing has a lot for it. I think this would be a perfect idea. I mean, you could have Cassie and Vlad encountering the Rot and teaming up with Alec Holland. I think that would be... you could easily work the Swamp Thing characters into the Hackslash universe, or you could have Cassie and Hack work into the Swamp Thing universe, vice versa. I think it would be great to see them try to combat the Rot. The Rot is pretty much something Cassie and Vlad would run into, so I think that would be great for, you know, them to team up with Swamp Thing, and the banter would just be great between the three of them. I think there would be a lot of fun with that. So, absolutely. And it would also be interesting to see the group from other characters of Hackslash be attacked by the Rot, and yeah, I could go on and on about this, but most definitely I could totally see Hackslash and Swamp Thing. Following that, at number 8, is Hackslash and Witchblade. Now, this one is very possible on multiple grounds. Like I said, Hackslash is now under Image, as far as I know. And Witchblade's under Image. And they like to have... I don't know, the problem is that I don't think Hackslash is part of the quote-unquote Image universe, but I think it's a possibility that you could do a Hackslash Witchblade crossover. I mean, Witchblade does have some humor in it, and it does have some horror elements, but it knows when to take itself not so seriously. And I think it would be great to see, you know, you can actually build it up that Sarah is on a case looking after these serial killers, or the serial killer that she's been hunting on the police force is found dead. And what happens is that, you know, the serial killer they're looking for is found dead, and now she's been charged to look for the serial killer or killers who killed the serial killer, and she follows Cassie and Vlad, and I think it would be great to see like the Witchblade trying to bond with Cassie. I think that would be a really interesting idea. I mean, we saw Red Sonja in the Red Sonja Witchblade crossover. We saw Red Sonja bond with the Witchblade, and we've even seen Wonder Woman bond with the Witchblade. And even the character of Princess in the Battle of the Planets Witchblade crossover. So I think it would be another cool thing to see her bond with... I think Cassie would be an interesting host for the Witchblade. And in and of itself, I mean, you could have demons and monsters and renegade angels in here as well. You know, just for shits and giggles. So, absolutely, I would totally 100% love a Hackslash Witchblade crossover. And again, it sounds very possible. It sounds very plausible. It's a plausible kind of thing. I said plausible like 3 times. Anywho, moving on to number 7, Hack Slash and Batman. Now, Hack Slash and Batman, even though it's kind of high on the list, it's kind of unlikely because DC's New 52 reboot, and I should have said this for Swamp Thing as well, because the New 50... Although, I kind of give a little more slack to Swamp Thing, because... You could, I think, because like Swamp Thing can be, you can do stuff outside the DC universe with Swamp Thing, and I don't think it would matter. But I mean, yeah, it's part of the DC universe now. But I think you could do stuff with that, and I think people would be interested regardless. But Batman's so centered in the New 52 stuff that I think it's going to be a little more difficult. And DC, other than the Spirit crossover, because he's not part of the DC universe, yeah, it's kind of difficult. This is why we didn't get the Justice League Transformers crossover. But why it's kind of high on the list, because there's so much room for a Hack Slash Batman crossover. I think it would be great to see, like, Cassie and Vlad in Gotham. There is so much for them to do. You could have them trying to kill all of Batman's rogues, especially the Joker. You could have them break into Arkham Asylum and just try to kill everyone. And they just kind of run into the Joker, and it's someone they've never, like, literally... This is someone that terrifies them, terrifies Cassie, and she's encountered some terrifying people. But this is it would be like the first time she would ever be She's been scared before, but this would be like, and she's encountered serial killers before. But I think if she encountered the Joker, this would be the first time where it's like, I can't deal with him. And I think it would be great to see not really a team-up between Cassie, Vlad, and Batman, but more like Batman trying to stop Cassie and Vlad from breaking into Arkham and killing everyone. They could try to be killing Mr. Zsasz, the Mad Hatter, Killer Croc. And I think it would be great to see Cassie just comment on how, Batman's cool and all, but he's a guy in tights and he doesn't kill. So she thinks that gives them the advantage. And it does kind of write itself. Batman has done very dark stories before, and you could make this Hack Slash Batman crossover very dark. You could go this direction, and I think this is something I think a lot of people have talked about with in terms of crossovers for that. But again, even though it's a lot higher on the list, because again this is something you could do. Even you could probably do this without Batman. You could just have them try to kill the Joker. You could have them encounter the Joker, and it could be like that. So really, this it kind of works in that way, if you want to look at it that way. So yeah, Hack Slash and Batman. But again, the reason why it's kind of higher, even though I say it's unlikely, is because I feel like this kind of writes itself in some ways. Anywho, number 6, Hack Slash Hellboy. Now now Hack Slash and Hellboy. This is another Dark Horse one, and this one's a little more plausible than the Buffy crossover in terms of like Dark Horse stuff. The reason I say that is because Mike Mignola loves to have his comic book series meet other comic book characters. We've seen Hellboy meet Batman, Starman, the Ghost, Savage Dragon, a few other characters along the way with Hellboy. I think, yeah, even Painkiller Jane. But I think this would be kind of a cool thing to do. And they did it in Hack Slash vs. Halloween Man. They mentioned this character called Heck Girl, and she tries to get them to join her universe. And I'm like, I see where you're trying to go with this, Tim Seeley. But anywho, getting back to what I was saying, I think this would be another cool one. Like, you could have some kind of old god kind of thing, because Cassie and Vlad have fought like these kind of old god kind of things, like. They're kind of like the old gods from the H.P. Lovecraft stuff, but you could do that and have them fight also creatures from hell. You could go either way with the Hellboy Hack Slash crossover, and I think the banter between Cassie, Vlad, and Hellboy would be great. I think they would just be like, "Oh, you deal with this kind of shit too? Okay." And I think it'd just be great to see like Hellboy take up Cassie's baseball bat and just crack somebody in the head with it and be like, "Here you go." Again, this is something I'd really like to see, because again, the banter... Because Hellboy would just be like, oh, you guys kill serial killers. That's cool. I think, again, I think they would get along. And this wouldn't be like a hero versus hero fight. This would be more like, oh, you guys go out and kill serial killers too, huh? And monsters. Alright, we got monsters. You want to help me out? I think, yeah, because that's the thing. Hellboy's very much like... He's not like the regular... like most heroes, like, I don't need your help kind of stuff. He's more like, oh, you want to help? Cool. That's what I love about Hellboy, is that he's always willing to, if you want to help him, He's always like, I ain't gonna stop you. Come on. So yeah, Hellboy and Hack Slash. So now we get to the top 5, and kicking off at number 5 is The Darkness. Now, this is another likely one because you could do, because again, The Darkness is under Top Cow, which is a thing of Image. Hack Slash is under Image, so you could possibly do that. You could do this in so many ways. You could either have Vlad and Cassie go after Jackie Estacado, or you could have them encounter, the Darkness, or you could have it like the Cassie's family or Vlad's family in the past encountered one of the bearers of the Darkness, or something like that. You could write that in so many different ways. I would love to see, like, the Darklings try to undress Cassie and her just knocking them off of her, and Jackie just being a total asshat to Cassie and Vlad. Just this... Again, this is something that kind of, you could go in so many different directions. You could have them fight, you could have them team up, so many different ways. And again, the Darkness is kind of known for doing kind of, obviously, supernatural stuff and gore stuff, but it does have some fun points with it. So most definitely, you can go so many ways with Hellboy and the Hack Slash and the Darkness. I'm surprised they haven't done that yet. So... Moving on to number 3. Number 3 is 30 Days of Night and Hack Slash. Now, the thing is with Steve Niles is that the only time he's been asked to do crossovers before, and he's never been up to it. And again, this seems kind of unlikely. It took a while for him to get around to the X-Files 30 Days of Night crossover. It took him a while to, accept that idea. So this would be kind of a little harder for, I think, if Tim Seeley or somebody else on the Hack Slash book approached him to do something like out of the blue, just like, hey, let's do Hack Slash 30 Days of Night. I think Steve Niles would be like, But I think it would be cool. I think it would be fun to see Vlad and Cassie in Alaska encountering the vampires. I think that would be great. And they've countered monsters before, so they just be like, oh shit, it's vampires, and again, it'd be gory. It'd be kind of funny because it would be kind of funny to see Cassie just kind of make fun of these vampires, even though they're incredibly terrifying. But she'd be like, you guys don't want to go. I want to suck your blood," something like that. And she's like, "No, okay, bash your head in." It would just be I think that would be a lot of fun. I honestly think that this would be a lot more fun than scary, even though. And it would depend on who's writing it. If it's Steve Niles, they would definitely be more of a horror thing. If it's Tim Seeley, on the other hand, writing this, it would definitely be more of a horror comedy type deal. So, there's that. So, at number 3. Now, number 3 is another IDW title that I would love to see happen, but actually this one's very possible, because IDW loves to cross over stuff, and they love to use this title. They did a whole quote-unquote event with this franchise, and that is my next pick is Mars Attacks Hack Slash. I think this would be totally fun. This would be a lot of fun to read, whether it be a one-shot or probably I don't even know if you could do a 4-part miniseries on this. Probably be another one-shot, though. Be a fun one-shot. And the reason why you're probably thinking, well, that makes no goddamn sense. Why would a bunch of supernatural horror killers take on little green angry men? Well, when you think about it, you could possibly see this happening. I mean, did anyone else expect Mars attacks to the Martians to attack Popeye or Kiss or the other stuff we saw in Mars Attacks? And they're going to do a crossover with Judge Dredd, so anyone expect that? So I think it's supposed to, and also it's kind of Hack Slash and Mars Attacks have kind of the same deal. What I mean is Mars Attacks, like Hack Slash, is gory and absurd. It loves to be absurd, in-your-face, gory comedy. That's what I like about it, is that it knows to be violent and funny. So I think it would be hilarious, even Vlad and Cassie are like, what in the fuck are we doing? We're fighting these angry little Martians, and the Martians would just be like,